Here's a shocker. While shooting the climax in Candyman, Tony Todd had live bees put into his mouth, with only a mouthguard to keep them from going down his throat. Now that is definitely a scary fact, and we'd never want to be Tony. But then again, there's been way scarier moments in TV history. You're going to hear all about it in this video, where we'll be showing you 10 horror movies that were so frightening they sent audiences to the hospital. You should also stick around, because we'll be revealing the world's #1 horror movie and why it earned itself that title. Ready? Number 1. The Green Inferno, 2014. The New York Post, describing this movie as sick and depraved, pretty much sums it up. And that isn't exactly a shocker, given how Eli Roth is notorious for this horrifying and gory filmography. We see a group of students who go into the Amazon in the hopes of saving the environment. It's all cute until their plane crash lands, and they all find themselves at the mercy of a cannibalistic tribe. The rest you can imagine is gruesome. So gory, there was a reported case of a viewer passing out during the film's screening at the American Film Festival. Number 2. Freaks, 1932. Imagine what happens when a director obsessed with carnivals finally gets a chance to create a movie around his lifelong dream. Todd Browning, as a teenager, ran away from home to work in a traveling circus. So after several years of working as a contortionist and barker, he made the film Freaks, which turned out to be exactly everything you would expect from a title like that. What was supposed to give a sneak peek into the lives of circus sideshow performers turned out to be one of the scariest movies ever to be seen on a TV screen. The movie's main character is seduced by one of the circus's artists, who plans to poison him. The seductress is transformed into a chicken woman in the final scenes and is put on display in the circus. This probably sounds random, but we heard a rumor there was a young mother who had miscarried while watching the movie. Number 3. Goodnight Mummy, 2015. This movie starts as a psychological horror, but quickly becomes violent. We see a pair of twin boys who have to deal with a mother who's just had reconstructive facial surgery. Facial surgery happens every day, so what's the deal? Well, in this case, this mom comes home to her boys, a totally different person. She is all bandaged, and perhaps even down to the heart, because she starts to exude a cold, unbelievable aura. According to the movie director, they found the news about 2 people fainting while seeing the movie a refreshing compliment.
Mama?
Number 4. Bite, 2016. Picture this. A woman turns into an insect after she gets bitten by one, and what seems like a harmless bite transforms her into a bloodthirsty creature. We're talking strange eating habits, animalistic tendencies, and a bunch of other strange metamorphoses. This movie gained a better part of the audience's attention after reports of people passing out and throwing up during its premiere surfaced. Whether or not these people simply didn't have the stomach for a bit of absurdity, we'll never know. But this body horror film certainly lived up to expectations. Number 5. 127 Hours, 2010. What starts as a tranquil drama quickly transforms into a survival horror movie where the rock climber hero falls and has his arm trapped beneath a rock. The highlight of it all is watching this character amputate his arm to break free. Not everyone can deal with the scene so graphic, so there were lots of people falling sick during the movie screening. Movie Line went as far as compiling these reactions, so you might want to check out the link in the description if you're up for it. There were several other cases of people having panic attacks, and even someone who experienced a seizure while seeing this movie at the Toronto Film Festival. Number 6. The Perfection, 2019. This film gained viral attention for its twists and turns, but also the blood, bugs, and every other gross and gruesome imagery you can think of. You see a character chopping off her hands, a bus scene full of vomit and maggots, and there's really just a lot of slashing and violence going on. This psychological thriller is frightful enough to leave one with plenty of horrifying sleep-haunting images. Lots of people have admitted to feeling sick while seeing The Perfection, while for some others, the scenes were indeed graphical, but no more. You just have to see it to witness the psychological scares yourself. Number 7. The Blair Witch Project, 1999. Don't think horror movies can be terrifying enough without so much spilling of blood? This movie proves that theory wrong. 3 college students set out to make a documentary about the legend of the Blair Witch, and the rest of the story is revealed by their found footage. There are lots of paranormal and eerie night sights that reveal that the researchers were indeed being followed in the forest. One of the friends goes missing eventually, and the reality that they are in a haunted place finally sets in. The Blair Witch Project is a horror masterpiece, with suspense-filled scenes intense enough to make viewers sick, as reports had it. Number 8. Macabre, 1958. An advertisement for this movie warned viewers of the possibility of dying of fright while seeing it. William Castle, the director, even went as far as handing audience members a certificate of life insurance policy in the event of death occurring. Whether or not that counts as good marketing is entirely another subject. And while no one dies right there and then, the movie was horrifying enough to make people sick, or at least be haunted in their nightmares. It features actual macabre scenes, like someone being sealed inside a coffin alive, a kidnapped child, and a lot more of the wicked stuff. Castle made some of the best horror movies of its time, and this movie was certainly one of those. Number 9. Irreversible, 2002. One of the most disturbing feature films ever made, this movie definitely aimed to make its audiences sick, because how else does one explain such a level of pessimism and aggressiveness? The movie is told in reverse order and contains violent scenes like an underground attack and severe sexual violence. The filmmakers also utilize sounds to fuel their agenda to make this movie nausea-inducing. Thankfully, most of the violence happens in the first half of the film, so viewers have sufficient time to recover and go to bed with their sanity in check. Number 10. Taxidermia, 2006. Overeating and violating a pig's corpse are some of the mildly horrific oddities taxidermia brags of. Mild because there is more. The movie's climax includes a scene where a character removes their organs with a machine. There were so many walkouts at movie theaters, because let's face it, only very few people can bear to sit through horrors like competitive eating scenes, where characters shove yucky substances into their mouths. The close-up pictures of pulsating organs were horrendous enough to make an audience physically sick. Now, moving right into the promised bonus, picking a favorite movie genre can be a hard decision to make, let alone having to narrow it down to just one film. But this isn't the case here, as there is almost a universal consensus on what the world's #1 horror movie is, and it's none other than The Exorcist. Released in 1973, which tells the story of a possessed child who has to go through an exorcism performed by priests. Shock, horror, fear, and nausea are the most positive emotions you could feel when seeing this movie. Yes, you heard right. and we think the combination of old school special effects with frightening imagery and a lack of humor earned it its reputation as the greatest. There you have it. We hope you agree with this list, and if not, leave a comment saying those movies you think shouldn't have made it here. Also, remember to give this video a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button if you haven't yet.